Hey, Sameer, while I have you, in terms of the time that I know you want to ask me three questions, right? How much time do I have to give the answer?
So give or take 10-15 minutes for each
For
panelist.
each question?
For each panelist.
For each
So
panelist, right?
yeah,
So
15,
around
15 minutes.
3 minutes also, right? Roughly.
Per
Okay.
question, yeah, could be.
सभी हिंदी में बोल सकते हैं ना यार?
हाँ,
बिल्कुल
हिंदी
बिल्कुल
पंजाबी सब में चलेगा.
रशियन में मत बोलना, वो पता नहीं कितनों को मालूम होगा, बाकी चलेगा. We had our hackathon on which we had the people from 10 countries participating. So, of course, Hindi would have been an issue.
Russian
Okay. So it is
okay.
5:30 now, and the session is open. Let me request our president, Mr. Sunil, who's batch of 1973, to kindly open the session and give us an introduction, and then we'll carry it from there.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our this month's webinar. The Delhi chapter of the IIT Kanpur Alumni Association runs a webinar every month on very interesting and relevant subjects. Today we will be, as you would have seen, today we will be discussing not only about just growing in the fintech industry, but blitzscaling the business for accelerated growth. We have eminent panelists, 3 of them, who are highly successful entrepreneurs and have already demonstrated this principle of blitzscaling in their respective businesses. So our panelists today are Anshu Sharma, co-founder and CEO of MagicPin; Nitin Gupta, founder and CEO of Uni; and Ashneer Grover, co-founder and CEO of BharatPay. You would have been reading a lot in the newspapers and magazines about all 3 of our panelists. And as usual, our very hardworking alum, Sameer and Sneha, are the moderators for this webinar, chief organizers as well. So we look forward to your active participation. And I urge all those who are not members of the Delhi chapter to join the Delhi chapter to benefit from our future monthly webinars and various other activities that we conduct through the year. Please enjoy the webinar. Thank you.
So thank you, sir. And welcome, audience. I understand that a lot of people are here from the industry, people who are running their own businesses, people who are from different background, people are here engineers, there are MBAs, there are people from commerce background. A lot of you are attending it for last few times already. And as you understand, IIT Kanpur Alumni Delhi chapter is a very inclusive body, and we have been running many knowledge campaigns since December, and we started by that, and now we've got a lineup of event for next few months also. So we welcome you, and we say that keep participating, bring your questions, bring your curiosities, and we'll have a good time. Now, some housekeeping rules so that you can enjoy the session the most. And what is the format of the session today? Let me introduce you to that as well. So the simple housekeeping rules would be that whenever you want to have a question, please ask it. There's a question and answer box over there. try to ask the questions there. We'll read your questions, we'll pop them up to the panelists towards the end of the session already. And when the session closes, we'll send you a feedback link. Please participate in that. Give us your feedback, tell us what we should do for you. And the other thing is that I'll be moving the session from one panelist to the other. And that way we'll be able to talk to each panelist for about 10-15 minutes. And then we'll come back to you, the audience, and then we'll talk to you. And of course, we are very eager to hear what is your reflection. Great thing is that this event was probably oversold. And Sneha, who's the moderator, she is sort of doing all the effort to collect questions and all. She was swamped into questions already even before the session started. Okay, my sense is it is probably also because of the galaxy of very successful entrepreneurs we have here. And it's not very hard to say that they are racing towards $1 billion mark very fast, and very soon you should find them there. So there are three brilliant entrepreneurs here. Sunil sir already told you about them. The first one that I'm going to request on the panel is Mr. Anshu Sharma. So Anshu Sharma is the CEO of Magic Pen, and there's a lot that he has done already. Even before he started Magic Pen, he's a serial entrepreneur, and he is a computer whiz kid also from Delhi University. He graduated there 2001, and then he went to IIM Ahmedabad, same batch of 2006. So I remember him from there also. Always very good in academics and always very popular. So many competitions he was winning and a lot of good things he was doing. So with all that, Anshu, let me ask you straight up one question: that how did you decide to start Magic Pen, and what is it really? What is the picture that is going to paint in front of us? What role Magic Pen is playing right now?
Thank you, Samir. Samir, thank you for having me here among such eminent personalities. And thank you for the very nice introduction that you gave. Very generous of you to say all of those things. Sure, let me start with Magic Pen. Magic Pen connects consumers and retailers. From the consumer side, it is a fairly simple process. We are a rewards platform. People earn Magic Pen points for sending their receipts to the app, and they can use these points to save up to 50% on almost everything: food, fashion, electronics, grocery. So anytime someone's looking to shop, whether it's a large brand, a small retailer, online, offline, Magic Pen is there for them to be able to save. The story, though, is only partial if you look at it from the consumer side. The reason we started and the heart of what we are doing is, in fact, the small retailers in the country. India runs on these retailers, right, all around us. That's the lifeblood of the country. Like, to help you imagine this, think of Lajpat Nagar area, right? There is a Chole Bhature guy. There is a garment guy who services the entire neighborhood. There is a chemist who's been around for a while. Let's say the Chole Bhature's nephew has opened a Momo's point, right? People have spent generations building out those businesses. And these businesses have stood so strong during this COVID period. They've been around for hundreds of years. They've stood really strong during this pandemic, and they'll be around for the next 100 years also. But they are concerned, and they are fearing that they might perish. And it's all around, right? Like, whether it's the likes of companies like Amazon, which are pushing the agenda on digital, and rightly so. That's where the tailwinds are. Or technology companies, let's say, opening dark stores or cloud kitchens. There, like, all of these different kind of things that are happening, right? And they're concerned that what's going to happen for them. There's no doubt that they'll remain, but there is an opportunity there for technology companies to play a role. And globally, right, if you look at it, Shopify, Square, or Closer Home, Zomato, Udan, we have, of course, Ashneer here. So, like, all of these companies are building for local retailers in different ways: procurement, fulfillment, payment, right? Different areas that are being worked upon. And one such area that we are working on is demand generation, because we believe that area is broken for small retailers. Like, it's considered that the market is whatever $800 billion or so, and most of these retailers would be able to spend on a blended basis 10%, that's maybe an $80 billion market. But those people are not spending. And how will they spend? Like that chemist from Lajpat Nagar, right? If he gives money to Google and Facebook, in spite of all the ads Google and Facebook is doing, right? That money will go into thin air. Nothing's going to come out of it. He's tried spending 10,000, 50,000 many times. It doesn't work. Like he can't do radio, television ads. He's too small to do that. Pamphlets, etc. They don't work. At the same time, think about Amazon. They will, if you visit a product page for the next 7 days, they'll keep following you with an ad for that product. And it's good for Amazon, good for that product manufacturer, and good for the consumer also. But this retailer is not that savvy. He doesn't have database of customers. He can't remarket, segment. He can't do any of these things. And that's where there is an opportunity. The way MagicPin is solving for this opportunity to enable this retailer to reach out to consumers for demand generation is that we have now sourced maybe $5 billion worth of transaction data that's gone through our system. And basis that, for that chemist, we can reach out to the right local customers, basis their shopping behavior, right down to the receipt that they had sent us. And not only that, that will reach out to the relevant customer. We will take some of this chemist budget and put it in the hands of this consumer as a savings opportunity, which I spoke of earlier. So we reach out to relevant people and we let them save their money on that transaction, and thus create something which is a win-win for everyone. This chemist is happy because without having to take out time, he doesn't have time, right? He doesn't have time, cash, like he can't do a bunch of these things. But with MagicPin sitting at home, he will get customers, and he pays only if and when we deliver customers to his store. The consumers are happy. For the relevant brands and retailers, they get to save, which was not possible before. And it's a virtuous cycle. The more the customers, the more the merchants, and the more the data, right? It just keeps building. It keeps building and it keeps growing from there. So that's our vision, that this 90% of offline retail market, right, which is built around these small retailers, just simplifying demand generation for them, letting them compete with the other big giants, which would be here, with the belief that these local retailers aren't going to go anywhere. And it's in the times, right? Like whether the Prime Minister says local pay vocal and other such things that are happening, right? It is in the times. It's for companies like ours to go up and build such solutions to enable these retailers to continue to remain valid as the world moves forward. So that's a high level, slightly longish answer to why does MagicPin exist and what are we doing?
That's excellent, really. It looks like that you are really contributing to many other businesses as well. And that's really heartwarming in a situation like today, especially. Anshu, I also understand that you were an investor before you started this. You were part of Lightspeed, and you had sort of spent a lot of time, supporting early to growth stage businesses. And so therefore, I wanted to ask you that you have seen the other side of entrepreneurship, the investor side. So how you used to evaluate a business as an investor? What would you tell the investors in the audience so that they can utilize that and understand the mindset of an investor who's looking for, making an investment, and who's trying to find out, what are the key differentiators, etc. What is your magic? What was your idea when you were investor?
So I would say I was at Lightspeed 5 years back. I was there for 6 years, but it was some time back. Thankfully, the market has evolved so much now. There is so much talent that's available. The technology ecosystem is changing so drastically, and there is capital available to get things started. So I would say we had perhaps a much tougher time and had a higher bar versus what is now happening and available. So if I think of investors, perhaps if I have to answer to them, I think in early stages, it's really the idea and the person, right? Like that's the classic framework of investing. You bring capital to a combination of team and market that's being followed. Now, the interesting piece is that it's so early that no one really knows that how it will play out. So you have a futuristic way of thinking ki acha ye ho sakta hai, right? I think, and we've all gone through that journey, whether what I spoke of MagicPin now or how I heard of what Nitin is building at uni or what Ashneer was like when I remember the first conversation that I had with Ashneer, like you can see that as a spark in their eye. And if they are smart people, they probably know what they are doing, right? So I think it's mostly about just like trying to catch the tiger by the tail and say that, okay, like if they think it's happening and I can make sense of it, let's get on the journey and then we'll build from there onward, right? That is what early stage investing is about. Growth stage looks different. There are a bunch of more metrics to look at but the interesting piece is that I think what is growth and what is venture, right? I think that dynamic is also getting mixed. There is capital available for people who are brave and they would just continue to build those paradigms, right? So it's, I think newness of the world we are getting into that is changing so quickly is letting people think really long-term, come up with ideas that are abstract and put a bunch of high quality people, including the person we are backing. I think that's a combination, right? It's the sectors keep changing, right? You would get lucky if you invest in edtech and then pandemic happens, right? Great. But you can't call for that all of the time. What you can call for that is that, yeah, I see 5 years out, this seems like something that will exist. And this looks like a person who's likely to be able to attract people and money to be able to build something like that. I think early stage investing is mostly just trying to do a bunch of these and then also a fair bit of luck or a very generous amount of luck to make sure that some of those really hit the ball out of the park.
Excellent. So I think the last question I'll ask you is, see it from the participants' point of view right now. There are many who would like to start a business, and then it's very difficult to come up with a business idea, and then also very difficult to fathom enough courage to take the plunge as well. So can you give one or two thoughts for the people who are always on the fence and thinking about starting a business so that they could
I would say the
possibly take a
idea
plunge?
like they should come and join us. I will get them ready to go and start something.
Okay. So is that
No,
all?
I think but like jokes aside, right? I think the best way is to surround yourself with people who've done this or who are doing this, right?
Yeah.
And the best place to do that is to be in such a place.
Yes. Agreed. I think so. Your advice is that, well, let me paraphrase it differently. What I hear from you, it's a wonderful piece you have said. Maybe what the message is that, if you're going to start the business, start it. But if you are not doing it, get close to it, which means maybe go to that startup, start working there. Learn from the people who are doing whatever they're doing. So don't go to a place where you are probably very insignificant and not not able to play a big role. Maybe it's a large company, but still, if you really want to start up, you want to learn the tricks, and that you can only get, as Anshu is saying, if you surround yourself with the like-minded people. So very well said. I think this was very valuable. Now that brings me to the second panelist, and of course I've got my co-moderator here, Sneha, and Sneha is a brilliant manager at American Express. And she has done wonderful stuff. She knows analytics inside out, and of course she's contributing to a lot of good work at American Express. Recently promoted, so clap for that. And she's batch of 2016. So over to you, Sneha. Let's see what you're gonna bring out with Nitin. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Samir. And a very warm good evening to everyone. So moving on, we have our second speaker, Mr. Nitin Gupta. So Nitin, you are an IIT Delhi and IIM Ahmedabad alumnus, and you are currently leading the team at Uni as the founder and CEO.
Yes.
Uni is a new fintech startup that has raised $18.5 million with a yet to be launched product. And if we go back in time a little, you kicked off your journey as a founder and CEO of KhojGuru, and then led the PayU India team as a co-founder and CEO. You have built PayU into one of the largest payment gateways in India under your able leadership. Most recently at Ola, during your stint of 2.5 years, you headed the Ola Financial Services as CEO and launched Ola Money postpaid, which was again valued at $250 million last year. Apart from building these cutting edge financial products, you have also invested in new and upcoming companies in the capacity of an angel investor. So welcome, Nitin. And with that, can you tell us more about Uni and how is it different from other existing competitors in the market?
Thank you, Sneha. First of all, thank you so much for that generous introduction. I couldn't believe myself that it was me that you were talking about. Anyway, jokes apart. Uni. So we are yet to launch. So I will not be able to reveal the exact product we are building, but let me talk about the macro thesis. So we are building and operating the credit cards business in India. And for those of you who don't know, credit cards in India is fairly large industry. There are about 35 million Indians who use a credit card today, and there are about 60 million credit cards in the market, in Indian market. In terms of spends, about $100 billion in spends, $7 billion in revenues, 7% of spends is revenues, and about $1.5 billion in PAT. Interesting fact, 25% of HDFC's market cap is because of its credit cards business. So that's how big credit cards is in India today. And it has been growing at a 40% CAGR over the last 5 years. And in spite of that, only 35 million Indians have a credit card. Whereas you will see that about 190 million Indians have a credit score today. More than 100 million Indians transact digitally. About 150 million Indians now transact at a POS terminal. So on and so forth, right? So all first principle thinking suggests that over the next 5 years, we should have 100 million Indians with a credit card and about 200 million credit cards in the market. So this is a macro trend which is happening, and it's a very profitable industry. The most highest ROA product for a bank, 6 to 7% ROA for pretty much every bank. So if you can just ride this wave, this macro thesis, right, you can create a valuable company. So that's my first macro thesis, right? So just ride this wave because this wave is happening. And unlike many markets, so if you look at e-commerce marketplace, or you look at food marketplace, Zomato, Swiggy, or Amazon, Flipkart, or if you look at, let's say, taxi marketplace, Ola, Uber, right? These are marketplaces which have network effects. So by default, you'll have only 1 or 2 winners. In financial services and clearly credit cards, there's no network effect. So even the number 20th player, if they can achieve minimum scale, can generate profits. So that's why this is my first macro thesis, right? This is the industry that I'm operating. My second deeper macro thesis is that today, the way banks operate credit cards, they have 2 problems with it. The first is that they use a legacy technology stack. Every bank just outsources technology, right? They would use a third-party player. And therefore, your credit card today is practically like a credit card which was there 10 years ago. They've added a mobile app for sure, but there are no cutting-edge cool features on a credit card. You would still know, right? For point redemption, you go through a different website. Your credit card doesn't work on UPI. I don't know if you have a SBI or an HDFC add-on credit card, your phone number will not come on the add-on number. It will still go to the primary number, and so on and so forth, right? Bunch of problems. So the technology is legacy, is a legacy problem, is outdated. By building a modern technology stack, you can offer far more better features and far better experience to a customer, right? And you can build a better product genuinely for the customer. The second thing which the banks are doing today to the credit card, unfortunately, is that credit card is the biggest golden goose in the bank, right? Highest ROA. But whenever there is a problem, this golden goose is kind of pressured, lay more golden eggs. So for example, when the pandemic happened, every bank pretty much devalued the reward point that was given to the customer already. Every bank raised their revolve rates from 40% to 44%. Every bank cut between 5 and 15% of their card base without apology. Basically, they just don't care. For them, they just have to make money from this golden goose, right? So what happens as a result is that the customer is always on guard. I don't know what might happen. It is not somebody that you can trust blindly. It is not a brand, no brand, right? In credit card is somebody that you will trust blindly and say, "Yaar, ye sab kuch theek kar rahe honge, bas sab theek hai." Very small portion of customers believe that. So there is an opportunity to create a very honest, transparent, intuitive, simple brand around credit card. These 2 are my macro thesis that I'm writing. Of course, there is many more deeper insight that I'm chasing, but that is still under wraps. So I will reveal it once I come out of my beta, but this will give you a larger sense of what I'm building and how I'm going to be different from a HDFC bank or an SBI bank in my credit card business.
Got it. Got it. I think that was really insightful. I'm sure the audience, I mean, it was helpful for them to know those numbers. We know it at an overall level, but I think knowing those numbers in detail surely helps. So now we know that, I mean, what is your new product mainly about, but how do you go ahead pursuing an idea, right? So if I am, I mean, I'm just planning to start up, right? So how do I choose whether I should pursue with this idea, or how do I judge whether it's going to take off or not, right? I know it's slightly difficult at an initial stage to make all those decisions, but again, how do you go about pursuing an idea?
So I will give two answers to this question. One a more strategic angle and one a more tactical angle.
Okay.
The strategic angle, at least the yardstick I use for myself, is that I apply a 3-level lens to any idea. The first is around market size, right? The idea that you're pursuing, what is the market size in it? If it's an already existing idea, then you know the revenues and the profit pool. If it is a new idea, then you know the target audience you can go after. So that market size should be huge, right? That's lens one. Because in a large market, even if you get more chances to fail and correct. The second lens that I apply is what I call as the network effect lens. See, network effect is a very, very powerful thing, and it has a real first move advantage. And in any game where there's strong network effect, either you have only one player win all, single player takes away everything in the industry, or one or maximum two, right? Multiple examples. If you are the first mover in a network effect game, great, play full out. If you're not the first mover, then stay away from network effect games, because you may spend next 7-8 years building the company out, and you may have nothing to show for it because somebody else took away everything, right? So wear that lens and be very clear of if there is network effect in this game. The third thing that I say is the depth of insight lens. See, when you're not in an industry, right, you have a level 1 observation. You're seeing it like everybody else is seeing. You can see the macro trends, where things are going to be, but you still don't know the in-depth insights of the customer and of the competition. So level 1 observation is great to start an industry, but not enough to build a business. Level 2 insight is what I call as the customer insight, where you know the customer pain point very well. Now, you may know it very well because you are dealing with those customers on a day in, day out basis, because you're in that industry, or because you are one of the customers and a large representative sample to show that that customer is going to behave like that. So a customer insight level 2 is very, very important. When you are away, right, and you're building for a certain market and you don't know about that customer enough, right, level 2 insights are never due. The level 3 insight is comparative insight. Your competition is not stupid. Your competition, if it is not solving for the customer pain point, there's a reason for that. One needs to understand that really well, because then you can counter competition well. Because competition either exists or will happen. They are also speaking to the same customer. They also understand that pain point. If they're not in there is a reason. So I apply these 3 lenses: the market lens, the network effect lens, and the depth of insight lens. And that's how I choose whether I want to play in a market or not, personally, for a new idea. Of course, this is 20%, 80% is luck. I just throw a dart and decide. Anyway, tactical answer to the question. If there's any entrepreneur who is unsure about a market and starting out, I tell them, get the customer insight right. So imagine you have the product already, right? Imagine you have it, crisply define it, and draw it out on paper if you have to. Now go to the customer and do mock sales. Don't pitch, do mock sales, which is not adding more features as the customer tells the requirement, is to have a defined product and pitch it to a customer and do mock sales. See if you're able to sell it without building the product out first. If that works, if you can, I call this as the 20% rule. If you can find an audience, a very sharp audience in which 20% of your customers are willing to buy your product, you are guaranteed a strong product market fit, not just product market fit, a strong product market fit. So that's a tactical answer. Find the audience whom you're building for and do mock sales. That's how I would recommend entrepreneurs to judge their idea.
Thank you so much, Nitin. I think that came from your rich experiences that you have had, and I think that is really, really helpful for the people who are at least planning to begin their careers in this field. So, my last question to you is: you kind of have diverse yet similar experiences, right? So, what motivated you to stick to this field, or just pursue a career in this field, right? I mean, at any point, did you think you want to try an extremely different career path, or just want to know from you?
So I think PayU happened lot of luck, right? I had 6-7 ideas, and the idea of payments kind of made sense for whatever reason, right? Some bottom down thinking, some top down thinking, and some luck, lot of luck. After doing PayU, I got closer to financial services, so I could see the problems. That level 2 insight, level 1 insight I spoke of, depth of insight. I could see some of those things, so that helped a bit. Of course, luck played a very important role. The other thing that helped a lot was that in financial services, there's no network effect. So it's a very good place in some ways for an entrepreneur to do financial services, because if you can build scale and build the business right, you are guaranteed a profitable company. And all of us entrepreneurs, right? What's our number one item in a bucket list, in a professional bucket list? Go do an IPO. So I wanted to go to an IPO, and you do an IPO of a large scaled profitable firm. And in financial services, the probability of that happening is high. So these three things: luck, the depth of insight, because I've been operating in that industry, and the fact that it's relatively easier to build a company there. I think I just end up being there. I'm not fighting as hard as Anshu and Ashneer. But Ashneer मेरे में ही है, वो भी financial services बना रहा है.
That makes total sense, Nitin. Thank you so much for your valuable insights and your learnings from your experiences. With that, I would like to request Sameer to welcome our final panelist of the day.
Okay, thank you very much. This was fun, really great fun so far. So to the audience, a quick one here that, the way to engage with this session, the recommended way would be that, use these successful entrepreneurs as a sounding board for any thoughts that you have that you want to flesh out. So keep typing on that Q&A box already, so that we can pick it up, just as we get past the third panelist. And more than that, if you have some observations, generally not a question, that's also welcome. So please feel free to share with us. So the third blitzscaling story in fintech that we have for you today is from BharatPe. And that is led by my very good friend Ashneer Grover. He's from IIM Ahmedabad 2006 and IIT Delhi. And he previously he was head of new business at PC Jewelers, and he also built Crawford's business out as a CFO, raised a lot of money for them. He was heading MX and, the corporate development part of that, and then Kotak Investment Bank. So there's a lot he has done. So Ashneer, I remember you from Dom Unnes, which was probably the loudest and naughtiest Dom there, but you were probably a very quiet and humble but very helpful person out there, mostly near the top of the class all the time. And I remember we used to talk to you about any questions we had on finance, etc., and you were always so ready to help us. But lately you were all over the news, man. Once you raised about $108 million in funding at a valuation which was maybe a few dollars short of $1 billion already. So tell us how it has been entrepreneurial journey of BharatPe, and what role BharatPe will play in the fintech and in shaping the fintech in India.
Yeah, thanks me. मैं यार थोड़ा हिंदी में बोल लेता हूँ, मेरे को इतनी अंग्रेजी आती नहीं है. नितिन और अंशु पता नहीं क्या बोल गए, मेरे ऊपर से निकल जाता है, तो हिंदी में बात कर लेते हैं. So yeah, I'm probably the most unlikely person जो कि entrepreneur बनता, right? At least I had no vision of becoming an entrepreneur or the thought कि मैं 15 साल बाद ये कर रहा हूँगा. I think one thing led to the other, and I just played along. One thing was very clear कि पैसा कमाना था, right? वो constant था, right? So अगर वो एक constant रहता तो तुम ढूंढ लेते हो कि पैसा बनेगा कहाँ से, and then you go for the bigger things to do in life, and therefore ended up doing Bharat Pay. I think at Bharat Pay the thesis is very very simple. हिंदुस्तान में आप किसी को कितना मर्जी टेक्नोलॉजी दे दो, कितनी मर्जी सर्विस दे दो, कोई सर्विस के पैसे नहीं देना चाहता. मतलब सबको जोमेटो का खाना भी चाहिए, गर्म भी चाहिए, 20 मिनट में आ जाए, 25 मिनट से तो और भी बढ़िया है. बट अगर कोई उसके चार्जेस मांग ले 50 रुपए, तो लगता है यार इस पे नहीं जाएंगे, मैं तो स्विगी से ऑर्डर कर दूंगा, राइट. एंड इट डजंट मैटर, राइट. मतलब आप 2 लाख रुपए कमा रहे हो या 20 लाख रुपए कमा रहे हो, आपका सेम माइंडसेट रहता है कि सर्विस के पैसे कौन देता है, राइट. सो एंड जनरली तो मेरे को ये लगता था कि अगर सर्विस के पैसे मिलने ही नहीं है तो आप जितना मर्जी सिर मार लो कस्टमर के साथ, थोड़ी प्रॉब्लम ही है, राइट. ऑन द अदर हैंड हिंदुस्तान में ब्याज पे पैसे देने पे हर कोई तैयार रहता है, बिकॉज वो इनग्रेन्ड है कि बिकॉज कैपिटल कम रहा है हमेशा. सो कैपिटल पे ब्याज देने का बिहेवियर वो कंज्यूमर में भी है, वो मर्चेंट में भी है, चाहे वो छोटा मर्चेंट हो लार्ज मर्चेंट हो. सो द आइडिया वाज वेरी सिंपल कि लेट्स मेक पेमेंट फ्री फॉर द मर्चेंट, गेट विजिबिलिटी ऑन उसके कैश फ्लो, एंड देन उसको ब्याज पे पैसा देंगे, which is basically lending. And that's what we do as a company. We have some 50 lakh retailers now who use our QR codes. They enjoy the payment service, payment acceptance for free. And once we have visibility कि वो कितना business करते हैं, we go back to them with an offer to borrow from us. And what we have found is that is actually what the guy needs, right? He's everywhere else you will have to sell him the product. ये एक प्रोडक्ट है वो जो सामने से उसको समझ जाता है, वो खुद समझ के आपसे आके लेके जाएगा. So that's what we are doing, and the idea is to just keep doing that. So I'm also very clear कि 10 चीजें नहीं करनी है, एक चीज को करेंगे और ढंग से करेंगे. So just I want to be the largest lender to small shopkeepers in India. Sameer, can't hear you.
Yeah.
That was my best speech, really. Okay, so I was saying, Ashneer, accidental entrepreneur. That's what you were, and now you are, planning to become largest lender to small vendors, and I think that's really needed because in Indian economy, छोटे-छोटे businesses, MSMEs और ये सब बहुत सारे हैं, और किराना स्टोर और तरह-तरह की चीजें, तो आप उनको financial services provide कर रहे हो, just like maybe similar to what Nitin is also planning to do. हालांकि उसका stealth mode में है, वो भी बताएगा नहीं क्या है. So that is there. But एक चीज बताइए अशनीर, आपने कुछ जो आपका वैल्यूएशन था वो बहुत हाई गया एकदम से, जबकि यू आर सेइंग कि आप एकदम से हमेशा से सोच नहीं रहे थे कि एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप करना है. तो ऐसा क्या आपने उसमें सीक्रेट निकाला, ऐसा क्या आइडिया है जो हम भी आपको कॉपी कर सकते हो? आप शेयर करेंगे थोड़ा सा, वो भी बताएंगे, या सीक्रेट है वो?
नहीं यार, कुछ इसमें सीक्रेट कुछ नहीं है, सिंपल है. वैल्यूएशन रियल चीज ही नहीं है, राइट. तो आप उसको जितना बड़ा करना है, जितना छोटा करना है, आप अपने, इट्स अ फिगमेंट ऑफ एनीवन्स इमेजिनेशन. द रियल थिंग इज बिजनेस, एंड आपने बनाया है क्या ऑन ग्राउंड. द फैक्ट इज कि अगर आपको कैपिटल, अगर मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि मेरा बिजनेस ही कैपिटल देना है, तो पहले बात है मेरे को कैपिटल रेज भी करना पड़ेगा. एंड कोई भी लेंडिंग के बिजनेस में सिंपल चीज होती है कि अगर आपको 100 रुपए का ब्याज देना है, तो आप कम से कम 20-25 रुपए अपना पैसा लगाएंगे और 70-75 रुपए मार्केट से उठाएंगे, उसको मिक्स करके आप आगे लेंडिंग करेंगे. सो फॉर अस एज अ बिजनेस, कैपिटल इज अ रॉ मटेरियल, and therefore we need to raise a lot of capital, and therefore when we raise capital, it leads to big numbers on the valuation. So valuation is actually the last resultant number, it is not the driving number on anything. Having said that, ये भी फैक्ट है कि जितना बिजनेस हमने बिल्ड किया है पिछले 30 महीने में, उसमें मैंने अभी तक सिर्फ $60 मिलियन खर्च किया है. $60 मिलियन खर्च के एटलीस्ट इंडियन स्टार्टअप में इस स्केल का बिजनेस अभी तक नहीं बना था. एंड आई थिंक वो एक चीज है जो इन्वेस्टर्स को ठीक लग रही है, एंड जिसकी वजह से वैल्यूएशन का नंबर भी जहाँ पे है वहां पे है. बट हैविंग सेड दैट, मैं तो, मेरे को तो एक ही चीज पता है कि वैल्यूएशन से धंधा नहीं बन सकता. राइट, धंधे से वैल्यूएशन बनती है, तो हम तो धंधे पे ही फोकस करते हैं।
बहुत बढ़िया। तो लास्ट क्वेश्चन टू यू, फिनटेक सेक्टर स्पेशली हमेशा से स्क्रूटनी में रहता है, मतलब पब्लिक भी उसको ऐसे देखती है कि साहब इसमें कुछ गड़बड़ हो सकता है, और जो नए प्रोडक्ट आते हैं उनको भी बड़ा डाउटफुली देखते हैं कि हमारा डेटा प्राइवेसी का वायलेशन हो जाएगा, तो ऐसा हो जाएगा. So there is some negativity around that. How can you speak generally for the fintech therefore? How do you see people tackling that when they are trying to sort of work from the businesses side? These kind of fears from the consumer.
इसमें अगेन सिंपल है कि बेसिक प्रिंसिपल ये है कि इंडिया में कैपिटल की कमी रही है, राइट. 130 करोड़ लोग हैं, तो लेबर है, एंटरप्राइज है, बट कैपिटल कम रहा है. एंड देयरफॉर लोग कैपिटल को लेके थोड़ा फिनिकी भी ज्यादा है, केयरफुल भी ज्यादा है, और वो होना भी चाहिए, वो नेचुरल बिहेवियर है. तो चाहे वो बैंक्स हो गए या वो एनबीएफसीज हो गए या फिनटेक हो गए, तीनों पे लोगों का स्क्रूटिनी नहीं बोलूंगा, बट ध्यान थोड़ा ज्यादा रहता है. कि जहाँ पैसे का मामला होता है, लोगों का ध्यान ज्यादा ही रहता है, राइट. कि किसी को भी 200 रुपए भी लूज करना किसी चीज पे, या 200 रुपए का खर्चा होना जो उसको पता नहीं है, या सर्विस चार्ज लगना किसी को पसंद नहीं है. एंड वो अक्रॉस स्केल या अक्रॉस सैलरी सेगमेंट उनको पसंद नहीं है. तो एंड द अदर थिंग इज, आप एक फंडामेंटली चीज सोचिए, इंडिया इज ऑल्सो नॉट अ प्लेस की जहाँ पे लॉ से कुछ हो जाता है, राइट. क्योंकि आपको लॉ इन्फोर्स करने में 10 साल लग जाएंगे. आप मेरे साथ कोई केस कर लो, मैं आपको गारंटी दे सकता हूँ 10 साल बाद हम हंस रहे होंगे यार कि वकीलों ने कितने पैसे कमा लिए, हम तो कुछ नहीं, हमारा तो कुछ नहीं हुआ, राइट. सो देयरफॉर मनी इज ऑल्सो द थिंग व्हिच कीप्स पीपल ऑनेस्ट, एंड देयरफॉर पीपल आर ऑल्सो ट्रांजैक्शनल. आप समझिए कि उस जिसके पास जब तक पैसा, उसको लगता है मेरा अपर हैंड है, मैं बायर हूँ, मैंने उसको पैसा ट्रांसफर कर दिया, तो फिर मेरे को सर्विस के लिए उसके पीछे भागना पड़ेगा, तो वो पहले मेरे को सर्विस दे दे, फिर मैं पैसा दूंगा. सो बिकॉज ऑफ दीज काइंड ऑफ इनहेरेंट बिहेवियर्स अमंग द कंज्यूमर्स, पैसे को लेके फिनिकीनेस हमेशा रहेगी. पैसा ही एक चीज है विच कीप्स पीपल ऑनेस्ट इन इंडिया, वेरी फ्रैंकली. इट्स नॉट द एनफोर्समेंट ऑफ द लॉ इन एनी केस. सो एंड सी, हियर्स द थिंग, जिस स्केल पे इंडिया में पैसा रोटेट करता है, बिकॉज इतनी बड़ी कंट्री है और वेलोसिटी ऑफ ट्रांजैक्शंस बहुत ज्यादा है, फ्रॉड को लेके या सोशल इंजीनियरिंग करके फ्रॉड को लेके लोगों का अवेयरनेस होना भी बहुत जरूरी है. एंड वो जितना अवेयर रहेंगे उतना सेक्टर के लिए भी अच्छा है. तो मेरे को तो ये लगता है कि कुछ डिफरेंट नहीं है, बहुत ही नेचुरल बिहेवियर है जो भी लोगों का होता है किसी भी चीज को लेकर.
Perfect. Okay, so I think that is great. Now I'll request Neha to sort of manage the Q&A from audience.
Thank you, Samir. So we have a lot of questions coming in. So maybe we'll not be able to cover all of them, but we'll try to cover as many as possible. But again, if we miss out on any question, then please, I request you all to reach out to the panelists directly post the webinar, right? So what I'll do is I'll just say a question and the respective name of one of the panelists, but others please feel free to pitch in, right? With that, the first question is for you, Nitin. So what is the statutory ring fencing and entry barriers around unsecured lending? And how do the startups address the requirements or the challenges?
I think you can't lend if you don't have a lending license from RBI, right? If you're in any unsecured lending activity which is not licensed by the regulator, right, that's a violation of the law. So assuming you're not doing that, there were certain companies who were doing that as well. But assuming you're not doing that and you're not violating the RBI guidelines or the license guidelines or the requirements, not all startups end up with a lending license or an NBFC license day one. So in that case, they end up partnering with companies who have such licenses. And over the last 5 years, the good thing is that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, partnering with an NBFC, using their balance sheet and running customer acquisition, customer value proposition, and all customer facing activities yourself as a startup was new. But over the last 6 years, it has become so mainstream that every lender has a digital partner, department or function, to so to say, right? There's somebody heading them. So it's pretty easy to kind of get started on unsecured lending business, leveraging a partner, working with a partner, where you then work and offer the value proposition to the customer segment that you want to, and you leverage the partner to make sure that you are within the statutory or regulatory guidelines.
Okay.
Yeah. Ashneer, if you want to add something here, feel free, please.
No, exactly same views. I think you have to be either an NBFC or a bank or a microfinance institution to lend. And now there's enough partnerships and models established already. So you don't need a license of your own, but you definitely need a license when you operate.
Thank you. The second question is for you, Anshu. So one of our audience members wants to know that, is there a change in the investor mindset? Are investors now looking at startups where burn rate is reducing, or is a robust growth story along the lookout?
I think startups by definition are about growth. So, and scale would be the other one. So economics, or let me say profitability, these are also two different things. A subscale startup which has got profitability is probably not what investors are looking for. They are looking for an at-scale company which has the right economics such that in future it becomes profitable. So they are there to invest, right? So the capital is being brought to the table. If there is no need for capital, then they are not required. What they're looking for is what can the company do with that capital in a short period of time such that it just grows very quickly. And at that high scale, it has already locked in the economics to at that point become profitable.
Okay. That makes sense. The third question we have is for you and Ashneer. So why is insurance still so under-penetrated in India? And what do you think are the ideas which can work here?
Yeah, insurance as a product ना लोगों को समझता नहीं है. आप as I said कि हिंदुस्तान ट्रांजैक्शन पे चलता है. मैंने आपको प्रीमियम दिया और मेरे को उसके अगेंस्ट क्या मिला वो लोगों को अभी तक चमका ही नहीं है इंडिया में, राइट? So and it will take time because see, people in general are relying on their friends and family in bad times, right? They're not so individualistic, they don't have a place to go, and they can't fall back upon someone in bad times. So therefore institutionally insurance India में अभी काफी time लगेगा, and it is not even a function of, to me, of digital versus non-digital, right? The basic concept कि मैं एक पैसा दूंगा जिससे मेरे को दिल की तसल्ली मिल रही है कि मेरे साथ कुछ बुरा होगा तो मेरे कोई खड़ा है, उसकी वैल्यू नहीं है मार्केट में, right? And that is the bigger challenge. It's not the digital versus non-digital challenge, at least in my view.
एक सेकंड चीज भी यहाँ पे which is related to per capita income. इंडिया की पर कैपिटा इनकम $2,000 है यार. मतलब इसमें आदमी खाएगा कि इंश्योरेंस करना सोचेगा. So you need a minimum income, right, before you even start thinking about insurance. And I think that threshold is about $8,000 to $10,000. So जैसे जैसे number of customers जो $8,000 to $10,000 की income को cross करेंगे, those will be the people who will think about insurance. और वो तभी होगा जब इंडिया की जीडीपी ग्रो करेगी. तो बहुत स्लो गेम है ये. It's not something which you change overnight.
Our next question is for you, Nitin. So where do you think is the fintech industry headed? And if at all, can you quickly, how do you define the size? Sorry to put you on spot there, but yeah.
The size to नहीं मालूम मेरे को. Idea है, Banshu, do you have an idea? Those guys are staying mute. नहीं ये टप वाला है तू ले.
Yeah, so I'm just randomly picking up the questions, but yes, everyone, please feel free to.
I think there are a couple of trends in fintech. I think customer centricity is increasing continuously, right? Which was not true for banks. I think private banks did that to public sector banks. Fintechs are doing that to private sector banks. HDFC being told that you cannot issue credit cards for the next 6 months because your uptime is not good is a clear message that customer centricity is very important, both for the regulator and everybody else. The second trend is that there are micro segments emerging and they have their own needs. I think the number of people in financial services from whom meaningful money could be made 5 years ago was between 20 and 25 million. Today, that number is over 100 million. And the next 5 years, that number will be more than 200 or 250 million. That means there are multiple micro segments of customers that have emerged who need solutions around payments, banking, lending, insurance, whatever, right? And very, very customized to that cohort. That cohort may be 100,000 customers strong or 5 million customers strong, but they need those solves. So you see fintechs emerging, solving the need of a specific customer segment across domains, right? And that's a second clear trend I see, that nobody is solving for one homogeneous segment. People are solving for small subsegments which are not sizable and large itself. The third trend I see that fintechs did not take regulation as seriously until now. I think RBI has been coming down and saying, take regulation seriously, get licenses, partner better, follow my rules, whatever, right? I think the regulatory burden today is higher than what it was 5-6 years ago, and that's going to increase. So I think, and there are a lot of licenses in India. Banking is the only one kind of license, right? Apart from, I think there are many other kind of licenses. So I think in general, you will see more fintechs heading towards more getting licensed, more coming under regulatory purview directly instead of just partnering. Those are three trends that I definitely see.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is for you, Anshu. So I think this question has been asked from multiple members in the audience. So this is about when is the ideal time to start working on an idea, right? Should you wait and complete your bachelor's and your MBA degree, or should you just go with your gut feeling?
Yeah. Yeah, I think if the person who's doing this is in an MBA degree, then MBA starting itself shows a very risk-averse behavior, right? It's not a mandatory thing to do. And very unlikely that you would leave that in between and go out to do something, and thus might as well complete it, right? That's at least what I'd say.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let me add a little bit more color, right? See, I think while in US, there are these examples, whether it's Facebook or Microsoft, right? The founders left what they were doing. But by the way, they left what they were doing at top institutes, mostly in their undergrad. So they were passionate, they were driven, and they could see it happening and they went out and did it. In India, that's been less of the pattern. I think the signal that completing your education from a high quality institute sends is valuable by itself. That lets you attract more people, more capital, opens more doors for you. There's a lot of value in that. Unless you've unlocked technology fundamentally, right? That what you've built is growing. And if you are building, for example, a Facebook-like network, yeah, by all means, then yeah, go out and do it. But if that is not happening, then no point in leaving things in between and going out, right? It should be something which is as forceful as that. There are examples, though. I think Ritesh Sagar is one person at Oyo who's famed to leave what he was doing in between. But then that's your passion, right? If you're asking this question, you know the answer.
That's true. That's really helpful. Yeah. Our next question is for you, Ashneer. So BharatPay and Paytm are great examples of network effect in fintech. The challenges in most fintech companies have not educated consumers about the value creation. What are your thoughts on this?
No, I don't think that is really true. See, I think Indian customers are generally much much well educated about the products that they use, or they don't use it at all, right? So there's a higher trust threshold needed in India for someone to start using. So I think all startups, and in fact, even Paytm, Phone Pay, Google Pay, Amazon Pay, everyone is doing a great job of educating the customer. But you have to also have to understand that the number of products and number of features coming out every day is exponential in India. So it is going to be a work in progress for a long time. But I'm sure you're going to have the savviest fintech users actually come out of India.
Okay, thank you. One of our audience members would love to hear your thoughts, Nitin, on credit on UPI. So Lazy Plus by PayU comes to their mind. And so how do you think this BNPL model is working on the UPI infra? Do you see any serious gaps in it?
It's a matter of fact that customers who have credit card, when they have to make a payment at a kirana, they put out their phone, they scan the Bharat Pay QR code, and they make the payment. The fact that your credit line, your credit card, is not enabled on UPI is literally a shame, and there is nothing holding people back in enabling that, barring intent. If you have intent, you can do it. One player doing it will not change the game. And just launching a QR code payment on credit line is not enough, right? People are not looking for a credit line payment ki yaar QR code ki payment ho jaye ya UPI pe payment ho jaye. But existing credit line givers, existing credit card issuers need to just enable UPI. As I said earlier, it's just an intent issue. It's a technology issue. Intent होगी और technology की problem solve हो जाती है. So it's just a matter of time, and I think to 2021 you will see many people offering UPI as a payment method on the respective credit lines, credit cards, credit issuers, and 2022 it will be pretty much everyone. So in the next 1.5 years you will see that a massive adoption around this. That's what I believe.
Got it. Okay, thank you. I think we can know all your opinion. I mean, or for all of the panelists, what are your views on gig economy and gig force?
Yeah, this is Shneem. I'll take that. Yeah, see, I think gig economy is a great concept because India में अगर आप किसी को बिल्कुल ही full time employ करना चाहते हो, the rules and regulations and the hoops that you have to cross are just too much. I, for example, employ 4,000 people on the ground, right, on a monthly basis. Initially, when we used to do this, we had gone to third-party agencies, and these guys used to work on their payrolls, and we used to pay the third-party agency their salaries. Then we'll pay the agency fees, then we'll pay GST on top of it, and all that. And when the pandemic hit, I said, let's do it the way a Zomato does or an Uber does, right? Which is for every merchant that you onboard, I'm going to pay you as a freelancer, right? And actually that model worked really well for us. Not only did I end up saving 20-25% of cost, which was either going as GST or to third-party agencies, you actually become closer to and you start building good technology tools for your workforce on the ground. So I think gig economy is going to be probably the biggest employer out there, and it is not something frivolous, right? A lot of people are earning very serious livelihoods out of it, and it's also not going to be something which is going to be capped out. So you can actually move from delivering Amazon packets to delivering food to actually educating merchants to either take a loan or take a QR and whatnot. So it really spans across the level of value add one can do, and I'm very sure it is going to be the biggest employer for sure in the years to come.
Thank you, Ashneer. Anshu or Nitin, would you like to add anything on it?
Yeah, Ashneer, I echo Ashneer's thoughts.
Okay, thank you. I think we are running out of time, but I would still want to take one last question. So again, this is for all of you. A very basic question, and again, this question was from multiple members here. So what keeps you up at night? Sort of what kind of motivates you each and every single day to go and just to go out there and do your best?
I think Samir is a entrepreneur among us too. I would like Samir to answer this question on behalf of all of us.
That's called cold calling, huh? So motivation, entrepreneur का मतलब ही motivation है, और जब तक मस्ती में रहते हैं तब तक बिजनेस चलता रहता है. एक इस क्वेश्चन को मैं चेंज करके एक ट्विस्ट लाता हूँ, इसमें ये बताता हूँ, कुछ नई चीज बताता हूँ. So there's a concept that I have introduced in my company, which is called TGIW. It is after TGIF. So what we do is ki Wednesday is a holiday. What that does is ki we sort of meet at that time and have some fun and don't do business there. We probably do some strategy वगैरह का meeting वगैरह. Now that kills the Monday blues if they were at all. Then of course, you know, Sunday or Saturday जो working days भी बन जाते हैं. That's a different story altogether. Point ये है कि तभी तक चलता है business जब तक आपको उसमें मजा आ रहा होता है. It's something you really have to sort of go deep into. क्योंकि उसमें प्रॉब्लम बहुत होती हैं. जो आपको उसका कॉर्पोरेट फेस दिखता है वो बहुत अच्छा भी होता है, वही ज़्यादा दिखता भी है पेपर में. बट आई एम श्योर कि जितना बड़ा आप जितने भी ऊपर चलते चले जाते हैं, जैसे आप लोग अशनीर वगैरह हो गए, आप नितिन है या अंशु काफ़ी ऊपर पहुंच गए आप, तो आई एम श्योर कि बहुत सारे प्रेशर भी होते होंगे. तो इसीलिए मस्ती ही उसको रिलीव कर सकती है. देयर इज नो अदर मेथड, यू नो, इफ आई कुड एड्रेस दिस पार्ट, नितिन. So throwing back at you now, if you want to add something, please, yes, go ahead.
अंशु बहुत देर से नहीं बोला है.
Nitin has decided to cold call everyone. No, I think Samir set it up so nicely. Yeah, I think and I would simplify it, right? I think the joy of building something, that I would say is the primary motivator. And like these companies, right? Like they're like a machine, they're a system, they're an organism, right? They're live. You build something, you pull a lever, and you get feedback. You get feedback from all around, right? In our case, we get feedback from our consumers, we get feedback from our merchants, we get feedback from our employees. I think that constant cycle of having a vision and making changes every day to inch closer to that, and how we overcome those challenges, in a way, the pain of the overheads, right, of friction of doing business, especially in India, right, that is solved largely by satisfaction of building and seeing what you've built in the hands of your customers. I would just say that is the pure joy, and baki sab uske charon taraf rehta hai, then it's good.
Yeah.
अगर लेटेस्ट लिंगो में बोला जाए तो जो इस समय मीम सबसे टॉप पे है, उसके हिसाब से तो ये हम हैं, ये हमारा बिजनेस है, और यहाँ पे पार्टी हो रही है. So okay, so let me then therefore request our secretary, Mr. Rohit Dhawan. He's a batch of 1973, great source of inspiration for us. Sir, guide us how to go forward from here, and let's close the session after that.
Thanks, Samir. And thank you very much, Anshu, Nitin, and Anshu. It has really been a great session. And I'm sure we had a lot of participants, and the question and answers which happened really showed that the audience liked your interaction with them. And I'm sure lots of them will get a new path for their own careers. And I do not know how many of them are going to pester you also for more gyan, which you have very freely given us here. And Samir, Sneha, and the rest of the team, it's really a great effort by you people. And the Delhi chapter is now doing these on a regular basis every month. And it's thanks to guys like you, Anshu, Nitin, and Anshir, that we are able to do something worthwhile and also get encouraged to do this thing. Because you guys, I know, are very, very busy. And it's been great that you could find out time to come over. I know you're very busy because I was chasing Sneha all the time. कि बताओ यार ये डिस्कस क्या करेंगे, कहती है वो सर वो मिलते ही नहीं, they're so busy, बात ही नहीं कर पाते. So I really appreciate that you were able to take out this an hour plus to be here today and be with the Delhi chapter of the IIT Kanpur alumni. And of course, we had a much larger audience than just the IIT Kanpur alumni. And I'm sure they would have all liked all what you've said. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you.
So thank you, sir. Credits to a lot of people. Of course, my co-moderator Sneha. Then there are our seniors and other members of the association. Mr. Ashok Kamal, IIT Kanpur 73. Mr. Rajiv Swaroop, 73 again, former president of Shiv Nadar University, senior corporate vice president of SCL, and Mr. Anupam Saronwala, a great investor, batch of 80, mentor and angel investor and advisor also. Ex-IBM, of course. Prakash Rastogi, he was our treasurer of Delhi chapter. And of course, the youngest participant, Jyoti Pandey, graduate of 2020, working for a company called VMOC India. Profile is UX designer. And then there is Mr. Anurag, who was helping with all the question and answer coordination. He graduated in 2003. And currently, he's working as a director in risk advisory in one of the leading accounting firms, focusing on financial services. So great, guys. Stay tuned. Next webinar we're going to have is going to address the mental health and emotional health issues. We are going to bring some psychologists, and we are going to have a session where we'll wrap this topic around and try to help some people. And then later on in April, we have got a very large session where a very senior doyen of industry will come and he'll discuss the roadmap for India 2025. And after that, we'll have a workshop session, May, there'll be group of entrepreneurs we'll call, and we'll do a session with them, great hands-on workshop mode sessions with them. So at that, I'll end here now. Thank you for joining in, and bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye.